What up, people? Crack Lemonade here, and want to talk about the potential of a continuation of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon in the wake of X-Men '97. I don't know if "wake" is the appropriate word, but X-Men '97 season one's over. Everybody's hyped for X-Men season two, X-Men '97 season two, and there were some cameos from Spider-Man, and specifically the '90s animated series Spider-Man, uh, and Peter Parker and Mary Jane and Flash Thompson in the last episode. And people were like, "Hey, they should do a Spider-Man like they did with X-Men '97." And I have mixed feelings about that. I've been kind of against the whole reboot thing for a very long time. And most of the time, I would say I was on point with some of with the reboots that were brought forth. And the reason I feel like I was on point for most of them, and can't say all of them because I don't really keep up either. And I think there are some ways to redo a movie or a show, and it's not like taken as an insult to the original to fans. And I don't know about critical reception. I can only talk about like how I watched something and received something. And I, off the top of my head, just gonna say the RoboCop reboot wasn't that bad. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion or not, but I thought it was okay. But if you look back at RoboCop as a franchise, RoboCop 2 and 3, especially 3, got super derivative at a certain point. So, there's a point where, like, I guess nostalgia for a thing outweighs like the actual, content that was there. But at the end of the day, I I don't want to say that it's not possible for a good Spider-Man continuation series. Um, and especially seeing Mary Jane, a lot of the things I saw just pop up on my feed uh, was people just being happy that Peter found Mary Jane at the end of the season, or I mean, at the end of the series, after the end of the series. And for me, I'm not as fresh on the '90s Spider-Man cartoon to like comment or have any kind of reaction to that. Uh, I definitely should. I might go back and rewatch the '90s Spider-Man cartoon because, like the '90s X-Men cartoon, it holds up pretty well because it doesn't. It's not artificial. It doesn't feel artificial. It doesn't feel like there's like a moral of the day that's hand-fisted in every episode, or like that you know there's always a happy ending on the episodes either. So it just kind of feels like a good show should. Like, it doesn't feel too cheesy. It doesn't feel like it sticks to a particular pattern of stories. It feels like, you know, the Adventures of Spider-Man and the Adventures of the X-Men. So, that's my plug of like '90s shows. And definitely, if you have Disney Plus, definitely go back and watch X-Men the animated series and watch Spider-Man the animated series, and also watch the other seasons of Spider-Man. I think for me, one thing I would enjoy seeing would be a continuation of Ultimate Spider-Man, or is it Spider-Man Unlimited? It's Spider-Man Unlimited, where he's on what is it, Altered Earth or Another Earth or whatever, and Carnage and Venom don't have bodies, and they just sneak on the spaceship and fly over there, and they basically take over the planet at the end of the last episode because the show got canceled for like bad performance. And yeah, that would be a good one. Like if you get like a good writing team and somebody who can like, I guess, can continue that story, that would be a good one to bring back. I would say in general that Disney would have a better opportunity with the animated shows over doing like this super long live action cinematic universe. I think that got stale and oversaturated. And the cartoons could potentially become stale and oversaturated, but like I also feel like you could keep it small enough to where you're not like rebooting every Marvel franchise and like doing a Fantastic Four cartoon and then doing a Doctor, like just doing a bunch of cartoons that aren't good would damage it. But I feel like they should know better. Maybe, who knows? You can't really predict how something would be. But at the end of the day, like it would be interesting to see the cartoon version of Peter Parker, the animated series version of Peter Parker back again for some new adventures, or they could just sunset Peter Parker and do uh, Scarlet Spider-Man, which would probably upset some people if they did like a Scarlet Spider-Man show. Like they started with a continuation of Spider-Man the animated series, and they do the Clone Wars, and they're like, oh, pump fake. Here's Ben Riley now. I don't think people would be okay with that. I think people who grew up with that show want to see a continuation of Peter Parker. They want to see him with Mary Jane, and they want to see those Harry and Norman Osborn waves, man. Yo, like it's crazy how good that Harry and Norman Osborn's wave game was. Like Oscorp definitely had like, you know what I mean? They had some stock in them do-rags, man, cuz like goddamn, goddamn, them waves was spinning for no reason. For no reason. And to shift focus to the video game I'm playing Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage for the Sega Genesis. Um, and I this is my first time playing it in a while, so I definitely forgot how it played. So that's why I'm getting like stuck on parts of the building. Um, but yeah, no. This since I wanted to talk about Spider-Man, this seemed like the most appropriate game. I have the sequel, Separation Anxiety, and but that's on Super Nintendo. But like Spider-Man overall, I feel like has a good track record with the shows. Like even the MTV 3D Spider-Man was pretty good. It was weird, but it was pretty good. I remember watching it on MTV. It was a very interesting variation of Spider-Man. And it's funny to learn years after the fact that the episodes aired out of order, which makes a lot of sense because that show did not make sense when I first watched it. And it's funny to like watch a video on that particular series and learn that when I originally watched it, I was watching the episodes in the wrong order, which is why it just did not make sense. And it sucks that it didn't get a lot of views. It was something that I definitely watched when it came on, and it would have been cool to see more of it, but you can't really control uh critical reception to a thing. And sometimes you are lucky enough to catch a show when it's on the air and it's criminally underrated. And you could be like, hey, I told y'all. Like, for example, I haven't talked about Kamen Rider in a while. Um, I wish that like I was watching the CW around the time that Kamen Rider Dragon Knight came out, because that would have been definitely an experience to see Kamen Rider before I got into the Japanese show. And I wonder, part of me wonders if that would have shaped my liking of the franchise of Kamen Rider if I watched the American adaptation. Would I have wanted more American adaptations? Hopefully not. Hopefully, watching Kamen Rider Dragon Knight first would not have affected my sanity in such a way that I would want them to try to adapt Kamen Rider and just ruin it, because I don't know, Kamen Rider has very good story elements to it, character development and things like that. And I feel like if you just put another set of hands on it, you could just taint the original message, I guess. So I'm all for Kamen Rider coming over to the US subbed. We don't do dubs in these streets. And by these streets, I mean these digital streets. And by these digital streets, I specifically mean the digital streets that Spider-Man is fighting on at this exact moment. So that statement holds no weight whatsoever. Um, at the end of the day, I do want to see quality shows. Um, there are tons of shows that I wish lasted longer in the 90s. Like, it really blew my mind that Disney's The Mighty Ducks was only 24 episodes, because I remember watching that for years, and I really do blame, like, I feel like the fact that it wasn't instantly accessible just did not register that I was watching some of the same episodes over and over again. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I watched that show for so long despite it only being 24 episodes. I know they kept it on Disney for years, despite it being canceled, which is also weird. But at the end of the day, um, I feel like 90s TV is like its own rabbit hole of a subject, uh, especially since you never really knew what shows were getting canceled. And same thing kind of applies to video games. It's like, you know, you can go on YouTube and like find news, or you can just go on Google and search and see news about a company going under, when like you're like in the 90s, it was kind of like you were just buying games and you enjoyed the game, and hopefully you would get a sequel of the game that um you enjoyed. But you didn't always know unless you had like gaming magazines, and like sometimes even then, unless you were getting them monthly, like if you had like an actual subscription, you really didn't know. And there wasn't really anything to keep up with. And even in gaming magazines, it wasn't like, um, at least to my knowledge and memory, like there weren't any articles about like certain companies going under. Like they just kind of disappeared, you know? So I don't know. I think we do need to be careful with reboots because at the same time we should like embrace new IPs and give room to new creators to come up with things. And sometimes I think the focus on like being safe with a trusted IP and rebooting that a bajillion times gets in the way of that. But I could be completely wrong. I could just be, thinking about it incorrectly. And, if anybody else has like opinions on like reboots, continuation of Spider-Man, like Spider-Man 98 or whatever, um, let me know because you know, I try to be cautiously optimistic about certain things, especially when you see something work and, there is a potential of writers who, you know, grew up watching Spider-Man and, 30 years later have the ability to write a good adaptation and something that the fans could feel good about. But, who knows? I've been Crack Lemonade. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.